Hi guys, my name is Charlie, and this video is going to be the first of a two-parter covering how to program blast beats. So blast beats are very common in more extreme forms of metal, and there are four main types. So the traditional blast, the hammer blast, the bomb blast, and the gravity blast. Today, I'm going to go over how I program the traditional and the hammer blasts, and next time I'll be covering the bomb and gravity blasts. First off, I'm using Get Good Drums Invasion, which is by far my favorite drum pack for death metal. So to get started, we're just going to click and drag there, press Shift Option 3 to render some blank MIDI, and then double click it so that we can go in. And we're just going to now program a traditional blast beat. So a traditional blast beat is alternating with the kick and snare every 16th note. The tempo here I've got is 230 BPM, which is quick. I'll just do this quickly and we'll see what it sounds like. You can either do that multiple times, or you can save some time by pressing Alt and clicking and dragging like that. So now we just have the kicks, and then select all the kicks, hold Alt, go up and to the right, and now we have a blast beat. Simple as that. So, of course, robotic as hell because the snare is being hit inhumanly hard for that kind of tempo. What we're going to do for now, just to help our ears, select the snares, bring them down. Much less distracting, although by no means humanized. So with traditional blasts, they're generally speaking, the right hand is going to be on either the ride or the hi-hat. For now, we're going to do it on the hi-hat. So we're going to open it with a crash cymbal on the left because that's fairly close to the hi-hat. And then again, every hit with the kick, we're going to be putting a hi-hat. So that is a very basic traditional blast beat. So there are a few things that we can do to make this sound more realistic. With the hi-hat, what we're going to do is we're going to mix in some different articulations. So there, that's just an open hi-hat. There, that's another open hi-hat, but it is open wider. So what we're going to do is we're going to move every other hit to a wider hi-hat, and we'll just have a listen. So there, that probably just sounds like a mush of hi-hat noise, and you can't really tell. Partly that's because of the tempo, partly that's because of, you know, everything is still at 127. But this makes it easier for us to vary every other hit on the hi-hat. So we're going to open up the Humanizing menu with Option 0, select every note, because these are all 16th notes, and we're going to randomize by, let's just leave it at 25 for now and see what it sounds like. Okay, fairly happy with that. Can we go further? We can, in fact. I'm going to move a couple of these notes, because the important thing with a blast beat, any kind of blast beat, is that it is consistent. You don't want there to be large gaps. The idea is that it's just a flowing wash of percussion. We don't want any big gaps anywhere in this. Now we're going to select the kicks, go to Velocity. So this drummer here is going to be playing this with 1 foot, which is quick to play this with 1 foot. But what we're going to do is we're going to bring down every other hit by about 10. Okay, now the snares. So I find with traditional blasts, with this particular pack, I want the snares to be somewhere between a velocity of about 50 and 60. So we can either drag those down, or we can do this. Set all to 55, a minimum of 50, and a maximum of 60. Go. That sounds about right to me. Now we're just going to pull down the cymbals. Remember, when I put these up here, this means that what we can do is grab all of the off beats and bring them down. Those are still sounding a little bit too loud. Okay, next up we have the hammer blast, which is one of my favorite blast beats. So this one is slower, but not really much less aggressive. So a hammer blast is, at this tempo, is going to be 8 notes on the kick, like this, which is the same as the traditional blast, but the difference is that instead of the snare being there, the snare is here at the same time as the kick, which sounds very, very, very aggressive. So what we're going to do now is we can just have straight hi-hats like this, But I'm not going to do that. One of the things I love about the Hammer Blast is that there's a lot that you can do with adding different flavors when you're programming to make it sound different depending on the riff that's going over the top. So we're going to have this repeating in a pattern of 3. So it's going to be going. So we're going to accent that with cymbals first of all, and then we're going to go into humanizing the snare to accent that even further. So we're going to have crash right, crash left, crash right, crash left, and then 2 chinas to end it. So have a listen. Now we're going to loosen them up. So even though these are 8th notes, not 16th notes, I'm going to keep the quantizing grid at 16ths because if I change it to 8th notes and keep it anywhere near 50%, this is going to happen. Which is, yeah, not, I mean, that's, yeah, let's leave that there. So 16th notes randomizing 50%, hit go. So that's a bit too much. It may have worked on the traditional blast, but it's a bit too much for the Hammer Blast. So I'm going to change this to 30. With programmed Hammer Blasts, it's very important to make sure you get that flam in. You do not want these hits to be happening at exactly the same time because no drummer can possibly play these 2 hits at exactly the same time. Only a robot or a computer can do that. So how far you go is really up to you, and of course dependent on the tempo and the song, but I'm happy with that where it is for now. So I find with Hammer Blasts, I generally want them between about 78 and 85 on this particular pack. Again, if you're using a different drum library, then these numbers mean nothing. So I'm going to select them. So 78, 85, let's set this to 82. Select the snares and go, and we'll see what that sounds like. So there he's not hitting them particularly hard, and because of the tempo, we could actually bring this up. If this was faster, then this might be about right. But also, I want the accent every 3rd note. So I'm going to select every 3rd note by holding Shift and drag them up a bit. So even though these are accents, we don't want them to be as hard as it might be throughout the rest of the song where he's actually whacking the snare really hard. So up here is going to sound not right. I mean, that actually sounds all right, but it does not sound human. So we're going to pull this down and put it right about there. And then I'm actually going to lower the offbeats even more, just to make that accent that much more clear. And the last thing is just the cymbals, where the velocity is slightly less important, but let's just have a listen. Yeah, those could do with coming up a little bit. Anyway, that brings us to the end of part 1 of this video. I hope you found it useful and informative. Let us know what you think in the comments. And be sure to check out the Brickwall Sounds website, Facebook, and Instagram. And we'll see you in part 2.